Imagine you're at a glittering ballroom party, waltzing under crystal chandeliers, when suddenly the music stops and a scream echoes as a body hits the floor. What if that was the start of a mystery only Hercule Poirot could unravel? Chapter 1. The Invitation to Widow's Pecklewright. Folks, let's dive right into our tale, Poirot and the Last Waltz of Widow's Peak. Picture this. It's a foggy evening in London, sometime in the 1930s, and our beloved detective, Hercule Poirot, is sitting in his cozy apartment on Whitehaven Mansions. He's meticulously arranging his mustache in the mirror, those little grey cells of his humming along as he sips a tisane, that's herbal tea, for those not in the know. Poirot isn't one for chaos. He likes order, symmetry, and a good puzzle too. Keep his mind sharp. But tonight, something's about to disrupt that perfect routine. Enter Captain Arthur Hastings, Poirot's loyal friend and sidekick, bursting through the door like a man on a mission. Hastings is all enthusiasm and British stiff-upper-lip charm, but he's got that boyish excitement that always drags Poirot into adventures. "Poirot, old chap," he exclaims, waving an elegant envelope sealed with red wax. "You've got to see this. An invitation from Lady Evelyn Harrington herself." Poirot raises an eyebrow, setting down his cup with that precise click that says he's intrigued but not committing just yet. Lady Harrington, you see, is no ordinary hostess. She's the widow of Sir Reginald Harrington, a shipping magnate who died under mysterious circumstances a year ago, officially a heart attack, but whispers in high society suggest poison. Her estate, Widow's Peak, perched on the cliffs of Devon, is legendary for its lavish parties where the elite gather to dance, gossip, and sometimes settle old scores. Poirot takes the invitation, his small, neat hands unfolding it carefully. It's for a grand masquerade ball, themed around the Viennese waltz, promising music, mystery masks, and moonlight over the sea. "Mon ami," Poirot says in that charming Belgian accent, "why does Lady Harrington invite little old me? I am not one." "For the dancing," Hastings chuckles, leaning against the mantelpiece. "Come on, Poirot. She's heard about your exploits, the way you cracked the Blue Train murder and that affair with the chocolate box. Plus, she mentions in the note that there might be a matter requiring your unique expertise. Sounds fishy, doesn't it?" Poirot's eyes twinkle. He loves a hint of intrigue, especially when it's wrapped in luxury. After a moment's pause, he nods. "Very well, Hastings. We shall go to this Widow's Peak. But remember, the waltz is not just a dance, it is a rhythm of secrets, where partners hide behind steps and smiles. Now, let's set the scene properly as they arrive. The train ride down to Devon is uneventful, but the coastal air hits them like a fresh wave as they step off at the small station. A chauffeured Rolls-Royce awaits, courtesy of Lady Harrington, whisking them along winding roads lined with gnarled trees and crashing waves below. Widow's Peak Manor looms ahead, a sprawling Gothic pile of stone, with turrets that pierce the sky and windows glowing like eyes in the dusk. It's named for the jagged cliff it sits on, shaped like a widow's peak hairline, or so the locals say. Legends abound. Ghosts of shipwrecked sailors, hidden smugglers, coves, and even a curse on the Harrington family after Sir Reginald's shady dealings in the colonies. As the car pulls up the gravel drive, Poirot adjusts his patent leather shoes. Ever the dandy, Hastings is buzzing with anticipation. I say, "Poirot, this place is straight out of a novel. Look at those gardens roses everywhere, and that ballroom extension jutting out over the cliff." Indeed, the manor is alive with preparations. Servants scurry about, stringing lights and polishing silver. Lady Evelyn greets them at the grand entrance, a vision in black silk. Her face pale but composed under a veil of mourning, thus more fashionable than sorrowful. She's in her 40s, with sharp green eyes and a smile that doesn't quite reach them. Monsieur Poirot, Captain Hastings, how delightful you've come, she says, her voice smooth as velvet. The ball tomorrow night will be unforgettable. But first, let me show you to your rooms. While settling in, Poirot takes note of the guests already arriving. There's Reginald's brother, Victor Harrington, a burly man with a red face and a habit of barking orders he stands to inherit if anything happens to Evelyn's control of the estate. Then there's Sophia Langford, Evelyn's niece, a bubbly young thing in her 20s, engaged to a dashing but penniless artist named Julian Thorpe. Julian's got that brooding look, sketching in the corner with intense stares at everyone. Don't forget Dr. Elias Crowe, the family physician who certified Sir Reginald's death, a nervous fellow with twitching hands and a fondness for his medical bag. And rounding out the suspects, guests is Countess Vera Petrova, a Russian émigré with a mysterious past, dripping in jewels that might not be hers by right. She's rumoured to have been Sir Reginald's lover, adding spice to the mix. Over dinner that first night, the conversation flows like the fine wine. Lady Evelyn steers it lightly, but Poirot's ears perk up at the undercurrents. Victor grumbles about family fortunes wasted on frivolities, while Sophia giggles about the upcoming waltz, practicing steps with Julian. The Countess shares tales of imperial balls in St. Petersburg, her accent thick and alluring. Dr. Crowe mumbles about health concerns, eyeing Evelyn's pale complexion. Hastings, ever the social butterfly, chats away, but Poirot observes silently, his moustache twitching like a radar as the evening winds down. Poirot retires to his room, a lavish suite overlooking the sea. But sleep doesn't come easy. A distant melody floats through the air, a violin practicing the strains of a waltz, haunting and melancholic. The last waltz, Poirot murmurs to himself. What secrets does it hold? Little does he know, the ball will bring more than music. It will bring murder. Let's pause here on that suspenseful note. In this chapter, we've met our key players and set the stage at Widow's Peak, with hints of motives bubbling under the surface. Think about it like building a puzzle, each guest a piece that might fit into a deadly picture. For example, if you're ever hosting a party, take a tip from Poirot. Observe the small details, like who avoids eye contact or grips their glass too tightly. It could reveal hidden tensions. But don't worry, we're just getting started. Next up, we'll ramp up the intrigue as the masquerade ball begins and the first shadows of suspicion fall. Chapter 2, Shadows Behind the Masks. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows over Widow's Peak, the manor transforms into a realm of enchantment and enigma. The masquerade ball is in full swing, with guests arriving in a parade of opulent cars, their faces hidden behind elaborate masks, feathers, jewels, and velvet concealing identities, but not intentions. Poirot, dressed in a crisp tuxedo with a simple black domino mask that accentuates his piercing eyes, mingles in the grand ballroom. The room is a whirlwind of colour. Crystal chandeliers sparkle overhead, reflecting off polished marble floors, while French doors open to a terrace overlooking the crashing waves. An orchestra strikes up a lively waltz, the notes swirling like the dancers themselves, partners gliding in synchronized grace. Poirot positions himself near a pillar, observing rather than participating. He spots Lady Evelyn, now in a shimmering emerald gown with a peacock feather mask, welcoming arrivals with practiced poise. She's the perfect hostess, but Poirot notes the slight tremor in her hand as she adjusts a guest's collar nerves, perhaps, or anticipation. Hastings, ever the enthusiast, has donned a harlequin mask and is already on the dance floor, twirling with Sophia Langford. Sophia's laughter rings out, her silver mask adorned with stars. But her fiancé Julian Thorpe watches from the sidelines, his artist's eyes narrowed behind a plain black veil. Julian sketches furtively in a small notebook, capturing poses that might hold more than artistic value. The Countess Vera Petrova makes a dramatic entrance, her red satin dress flowing like blood, a golden mask evoking czarist splendor. She immediately draws a crowd, her stories of exiled nobility captivating the room. Victor Harrington, masked as a bulldog fitting for his gruff demeanor, hovers near the buffet, downing champagne and muttering about extravagance. Dr. Elias Crow, in a physician's plague doctor mask that seems oddly prophetic, sticks to the edges, his beaked disguise hiding fidgety glances toward Lady Evelyn. The air is thick with perfume and whispers, the waltz providing a rhythmic backdrop to potential plots. As the evening progresses, Poirot engages in light conversation, his Belgian charm disarming even the most guarded. He chats with the Countess about her jewels, noting how one necklacer, ruby choker, matches descriptions of a Harrington family heirloom lost years ago. "Ah, madame, such beauty must have a story," he probes gently. She laughs it off, but her fingers tighten around her glass. Moving on, Poirot overhears Victor arguing softly with Julian near the terrace doors. "You think you can waltz in and claim what's mine?" Victor growls, his mask slipping slightly. Julian retorts with a smirk. "Art isn't about claims, old man, it's about vision." Poirot files this away. Jealousy over Sophia's inheritance, perhaps, or something deeper tied to the estate. The orchestra announces a special performance, a solo violinist playing the last waltz, a melancholic piece composed by Sir Reginald himself before his death. The lights dim and guests pair up for the dance. Lady Evelyn takes the floor with Victor, their steps formal but tense, like a duel in motion. Sophia and Julian whirl gracefully, her giggles contrasting his intense grip. The Countess partners with a minor guest, but her eyes dart toward Dr. Crow, who declines all invitations and nurses a drink instead. Hastings, after a spin with Sophia, joins Poirot. "Jolly good fun, eh? But I sense something off. Evelyn looks peaky." Poirot nods. "Oui, mon ami." The masks hide faces, but not the language of the body. Watch how the doctor avoids the light. He fears revelation. Midway through the waltz, a subtle disruption occurs. A servant drops a tray of glasses, shattering the harmony with a crash. Guests murmur, but Poirot's attention shifts to the terrace, where a shadowy figure slips out. Julian, perhaps, excuses himself and follows discreetly, the cool night air carrying the scent of salt and roses. On the terrace, overlooking the perilous cliff drop, he finds no one but a discarded cigarette, but Spaulders. Its brand foreign Russian, like the Countess's preferences. Returning inside, the dance resumes, but tension lingers as midnight approaches. The unmasking hour draws near, heightening the excitement. Guests buzz about revelations, both literal and figurative. Poirot corners Dr. Crow near the punch bowl. "Doctor, you attended Sir Reginald's final moments. Was the heart truly the culprit?" Crow stammers, his mask's beak bobbing. "Of course, monsieur. A tragic failure, nothing more." But his eyes betrayed doubt. flicking toward Lady Evelyn, who now dances alone, lost in the music. Suddenly, the violinist's bow screeches to a halt. A gasp ripples through the crowd as Victor Harrington stumbles in the center of the floor, clutching his throat, his bulldog mask askew. He collapses in a heap, foam at his lips, the waltz dying with him. Chaos erupts. Ladies scream, gentlemen rush forward. Dr. Crow kneels beside Victor, checking for a pulse. Poison, he declares, his voice shaking. Cyanide by the smell. Lady Evelyn freezes, her peacock mask cracking as she removes it, revealing a face drained of color. "Not again," she whispers. Poirot steps forward, his voice cutting through the panic like a knife. "Madame et messieurs, remain calm. No one leaves this room. The dance is over, but the investigation begins." Hastings blocks the doors, his harlequin mask now seeming ironic in the grim light. Poirot examines the body swiftly, Victor's glass nearby, residue in the dregs suggesting tampering. The orchestra packs up nervously, but Poirot instructs them to stay. He questions the servant who served drinks, a young maid named Elsie, wide-eyed and tearful. "I didn't see nothing, sir. Just poured from the bottle." But Poirot notices her. Apron pocket bulging, slightly a note, perhaps. He lets her go for now, turning to the guests. The Countess fans herself dramatically. How dreadful, poor Victor. Sophia clings to Julian, who comforts her but glances at the exit. Dr. Crow administers a sedative to Lady Evelyn, who murmurs about curses on the family. Gathering the key players in the adjoining library, Poirot begins piecing together alibis. Lady Evelyn claims she was dancing the whole time. Victor and I argued earlier about the estate he wanted to sell. I refused. The Countess admits wandering the terrace for air. The heat, you know. Julian confesses to stepping out too, for inspiration, showing a sketch of the moonlit cliffs. Sophia was with Hastings, vouched for. Dr. Crow says he was watching from the sides, but no one confirms it. Poirot's little grey cells whirl, the poison quick-acting, likely in the champagne Victor favoured. Who had access? Anyone in the bustle. But motive, Victor's death, clears the way for Evelyn to control the fortune fully, or perhaps Sophia inherits directly. The Countess might seek revenge for past slights, Julian for financial gain through marriage. Even the doctor could cover up old mistakes, as the police are summoned at Lade. By the remote location, Poirot inspects the ballroom. He finds a dropped earring near Victor's body, pearl and gold, matching the Countess's set. "Interesting," he mutters. Hastings whispers, "Think it's her." Poirot smiles enigmatically. Patience, Hastings. The waltz has many turns. Wrapping up this whirlwind of a night, we've seen the ball turn deadly, introducing poison and alibis that twist like dance steps. Remember, in real life, if you're at a party and something feels off, trust your instincts like Poirot does. With those subtle clues, it might just prevent a mishap. Stay tuned, because next we'll delve into the interrogations, where secrets start unraveling and accusations fly. Chapter 3. Interrogations in the library. The air in Widow's Peak's library is thick with tension, the kind that clings to the heavy oak shelves and the musty scent of old books. The police are still hours away, delayed by the winding Devon roads, and a brewing storm outside, its thunder rumbling like a warning. Hercule Poirot stands at the center of the room, his small frame commanding attention as he faces the gathered guests. The masquerade masks are gone, but the faces now bear Lady Evelyn, Sophia, Julian, Countess Vera, Dr. Crow, and a handful of shaken servants wear masks of a different kind. fear, guilt, or defiance. Hastings guards the door, his usual cheer, replaced by a grim determination to keep everyone in place. The chandelier above casts flickering shadows, making the room feel like a stage for Poirot's next act in unraveling this deadly dance. Poirot begins with a calm authority, his Belgian accent crisp. Mesdames et messieurs, a man is dead poisoned in a room full of witnesses. Yet no one sees the hand that poured the poison. This is not magic, it is method, and Hercule Poirot will find it. He paces slowly, his patent leather shoes clicking on the polished floor, eyes scanning each face. He starts with Lady Evelyn, seated in a high-backed chair, her emerald gown now seeming out of place in the grim morning light. Madame, you and Monsieur Victor argued about the estate. Tell me, what was the nature of this dispute? Evelyn's green eyes flicker, but her voice is steady. Victor wanted to sell Widow's Peak to developers, turn it into some ghastly resort. I refused. This house is my husband's legacy. Poirot nods, noting her clenched hands. A legacy worth killing for, perhaps. Next, he turns to Sophia Langford, who's curled up on a sofa beside Julian, her starry-eyed charm dimmed by red-rimmed eyes. Mademoiselle, you are the niece, oui. And now, with Victor gone, what do you inherit? Sophia gasps, her hand flying to her chest. I don't know. Aunt Evelyn controls everything until I marry or turn 25. I'd never hurt Uncle Victor. Julian, protective, wraps an arm around her, but his sketchbook lies open on his lap, showing a drawing of Victor angry, almost menacing. Poirot's mustache twitches. Monsieur Thorpe, your art captures emotion vividly. Did you capture Victor's anger last night? Julian shrugs, his voice cool. I draw what I see. Victor was always barking at someone. Poirot makes a mental note. Julian's detachment could be innocence or a calculated mask. The Countess Vera Petrova lounges in a velvet armchair, her red dress bold even in daylight. Poirot holds up the pearl and gold earring found near Victor's body. Madame, is this yours? Vera's smile is icy. It looks like mine, yes, but I lost one days ago. Anyone could have picked it up. Her nonchalance is practiced, but Poirot catches her glance toward Dr. Crow, who's fidgeting with his medical bag. Dr. Poirot pivots. Cyanide is a swift killer, yet you recognized it instantly. Unusual expertise for a country. Physician Nan Crow's hands tremble. I studied toxicology in London. The smell is distinctive bitter almonds. Poirot's eyes narrow. A doctor with such knowledge could easily procure poison. Poirot then questions the maid, Elsie, who served the champagne. She's barely 18, her apron still crumpled from last night's chaos. Mademoiselle Elsie, you poured Victor's drink. Did you see anyone tamper with the bottle? Elsie shakes her head, tears welling. No, sir. I just did my job. The bottles were on the side table. Anyone could have got to them. Poirot notices her pocket again, where the bulge suggests a note. Gently, he asks her to empty it. She hesitates, then pulls out a folded paper-scrawled message. Meet me at the terrace, midnight. Unsigned, but the ink matches a pen on Julian's sketch table. Julian protests. I didn't write that. I was sketching, not scheming. Poirot tucks the note away, his expression unreadable. To keep the investigation moving, Poirot assigns Hastings to gather physical clues while he probes deeper. Hastings returns with a tray from the ballroom, Victor's glass. a half-empty champagne bottle, and a small vial found under a table. The vial, unmarked, smells faintly of almond cyanide, likely the murder weapon. Poirot examines the glass, noting lipstick on the rim, a shade of crimson matching the Countess's. "Interesting," he murmurs. "Madame Petrova, you drank champagne last night. We." Vera laughs lightly. "Who didn't? But I assure you, my lips touched my own glass. Yet no other crimson lipsticked glasses are found." Raising questions, Poirot shifts tactics, asking about alibis during the critical moments of the waltz. Lady Evelyn insists she danced continuously, seen by dozens. Sophia and Julian claim they were together, though Julian admits to a brief terrace visit to clear his head. The Countess says she stepped out for air alone. Dr. Crow repeats he stayed by the wall, unnoticed. Elsie was serving drinks, her tray a constant blur. The alibis are flimsy, overlapping in ways that offer no clear culprit. Poirot's little grey cells work overtime, piecing together times. The poison, fast-acting, was likely administered during the waltz, or just before, when the tray crash distracted everyone to test reactions. Poirot shares a theory aloud. Perhaps Victor was not the target. Perhaps the poison was meant for another, say, Lady Evelyn, who controls the fortune. Evelyn pales, clutching her throat. Sophia gasps, "Aunt Evelyn." Julian's jaw tightens, while Vera's eyes gleam with interest. Crow drops his bag, spilling bandages. The idea shakes them, revealing cracks in their composure. Poirot watches closely, knowing fear often loosens tongues. He then inspects the library itself, noticing a hidden panel behind a bookshelf, slightly ajar. Inside, a narrow passage leads toward the cliffs of Smuggler's Route, perhaps from Widow's Peak's shadowy past. Could someone have used it to slip poison into the ballroom unnoticed? Hastings, ever practical, suggests dusting for fingerprints. But Poirot waves it off. The mind, Hastings, not the fingers, holds the truth. We must understand why Victor died, not just how. As the storm outside intensifies, rattling windows, Poirot gathers the group again. "Each of you has a secret," he says, his voice low. The Countess's earring, the artist's note, the doctor's knowledge, the niece's inheritance, the hostess's control. I urge you, speak now, or the truth will find you. Silence falls, broken only by the rain. No one confesses, but their eyes dart Devlin to Crow, Julian to Sophia, Vera to the door. The tension is a powder keg, waiting for a spark. Wrapping up, Poirot dismisses them to their rooms, under watch, promising answers soon. He confides to Hastings, the killer is clever, but they underestimate Poirot's method. The clues are here: lipstick, notes, passages. We need only the right rhythm to see the pattern. For you viewers, take a lesson. When solving problems, look beyond the obvious. A stray detail, like an earring or a glance, can unlock everything. Next, we'll explore the Manor's hidden corners, where past sins and present motives collide. Chapter 4: Secrets of the Smuggler's Passage, with the storm raging outside, turning the cliffs of Widow's Peak into a treacherous blur of wind and rain. Poirot decides it's time to venture beyond the library's confines and into the Manor's hidden depths. The hidden panel he discovered earlier beckons like an unspoken invitation to the past, and Poirot, ever the methodical detective, gathers a small lantern from the butler's pantry before slipping through it with Hastings close behind. The passage is narrow and damp, its stone walls echoing with the distant crash of waves far below. carved out centuries ago by smugglers who used the estate as a hideout for contraband goods, brandy, silks, and secrets that could ruin reputations. Poirot's nose wrinkles at the musty air, but his eyes gleam with purpose. He knows that murders like Victor's often root in history, and this tunnel might hold the key to unlocking motives buried deeper than any grave. As they navigate the twisting corridor, Poirot pauses to examine faint markings on the walls. Initials, dates from the 1800s, and even a crude map etched into the stone, pointing toward a cove at the base of the cliffs. "See here, Hastings," Poirot whispers, his voice carrying a note of excitement. "This is no mere escape route. It is a vein through which the blood of the Harrington family flows, perhaps poisoned long ago." Hastings, holding the lantern higher, nods eagerly, though his face shows a hint of unease at the cobwebs brushing his shoulders. They press on, the path sloping downward, and soon the sound of the sea grows louder, mingling with the storm's fury. At a fork, Poirot chooses the left branch, guided by a draught of salty air, and they emerge into a small chamber hidden behind the Manor's wine cellar. Its shelves lined with dusty bottles, but also something more intriguing, a locked chest tucked. In the corner, its wood weathered by time. Poirot kneels, his nimble fingers picking the lock with a hairpin from his Paquita trick he's used in tighter spots before. Inside, yellowed papers spill out, old letters, shipping manifests from Sir Reginald's empire, and a faded photograph of a younger Reginald with a woman who looks strikingly like Countess Vera, but with darker hair and a different name scrawled. On the back, Vera's mother, perhaps. The letters reveal scandals, Reginald's shady deals in the colonies, smuggling not just goods but artifacts that belonged to others, and a bitter feud with his brother Victor over shares in the business. One note, dated a year before Reginald's death, threatens exposure. Pay what you owe, or the world knows your secrets. Unsigned, but the handwriting matches samples Poirot recalls from Dr. Crow's medical notes. "Ah, the doctor," Poirot murmurs, pocketing the evidence. He was more than a physician, perhaps a blackmailer in disguise. Hastings, rifling through more papers, finds a will, Reginald's original, leaving everything to Evelyn but with a codicil. If she remarries or sells the estate, it goes to Victor. But Victor's dead now, so who benefits? Sophia as the next in line, or maybe Julian through marriage. Poirot's mind races. This explains Victor's push to sell. He wanted to force Evelyn's hand, claim the fortune before she could secure it. As they explore further, the chamber connects to another tunnel leading outdoors to the cliff's edge. Here, Poirot spots fresh footprints in the mud, small like a woman's shoe, heading toward the terrace where the cigarette butt was found last night. Someone used this recently, he says, to move unseen during the ball. The killer, perhaps, slipping poison into the champagne while all eyes were on the dance. Back in the Manor, Poirot confronts the group subtly, starting with Dr. Crow in his room. The doctor, pale and pacing, denies knowledge of the passage when shown the threatening letter. "That's not my hand," he protests, but his twitching fingers betray him. Poirot presses, "You certified Reginald's death as natural, but cyanide leaves. Traces bitter almonds, just like Victor. Did you cover for someone?" Crow collapses into a chair, confessing partially. "Reginald was poisoned. Yes, but by his own hand, suicide over debts. I hid it to protect the family." Poirot doubts this. Suicide doesn't fit the ambitious magnate. Leaving Crow under watch, Poirot moves to Countess Vera. Lounging in the drawing room with a cigarette trush in brand, matching the butt. Madame, your earring by the body, your lipstick on the glass coincidences. Vera exhales, smoke defiantly. I was Reginald's lover, yes. He promised me jewels, but Evelyn hoarded them. Victor knew, threatened to expose me as a fraud. My title is invented, you see, a motive for murder. But Vera claims she was on the terrace alone, not poisoning drinks. Sophia and Julian are next, in the conservatory amid wilting roses. Sophia weeps. Uncle Victor was cruel, always belittling Julian's art. Julian admits writing the note to Elsie, the maid, but only to arrange a secret meeting for a portrait commission, nothing sinister. Poirot shows the footprint photo he sketched quickly. It matches Sophia's dainty shoes. I walked the cliffs earlier, for air, she insists. Julian defends her fiercely, but Poirot senses protectiveness that borders on desperation. Julian's penniless state makes the inheritance tempting. Lady Evelyn, when questioned in her boudoir, admits knowing the passage. Reginald showed me once, for emergencies. She reveals Victor's recent demands. He found proof of her affair with Dr. Crow, using it to blackmail her into selling. But I didn't kill him, she swears, though I wished him gone. Poirot assembles clues in his mind. The passage links past smuggling to present poison, with everyone having access via hidden entrances in their rooms, verified by Hastings' quick check. A practical tip here: in mysteries or even everyday puzzles, trace the paths not taken. Hidden routes often reveal the truth. As the storm eases, Poirot finds another clue outside a discarded vial wrapper in the garden, labelled with a pharmacy. In London, linked to Crow, the web tightens, but who spun it? Summing up this shadowy exploration, we've uncovered family scandals and secret paths that twist the case like the tunnels themselves. These revelations show how history haunts the present, much like in real life where old grudges can resurface unexpectedly. Keep an eye on those overlooked corners, they might hold your next breakthrough. Moving ahead, the plot thickens with a startling confession that shakes the foundations of Widow's Peak. Chapter 5. The confession and the cliffside chases. Afternoon light filters through the storm's remnants, casting eerie patterns on the manor's walls. A sudden cry echoes from the upper floors, drawing everyone to Sophia's room. There the young heiress stands trembling, a crumpled letter in her hand, another threat. This one fresh. Confess or join Victor in the depths. Poirot snatches it, noting the same handwriting as the old notes, but with ink still wet. The killer is among us, growing bold, he declares, his voice steady amid the gasps. This new twist propels the investigation into high gear, with motives crystallizing like ice on the windows. Sophia, collapsing into Julian's arms, admits she's been receiving anonymous letters for weeks, demanding she break off her engagement or face ruin letters that Victor might have sent but now continue. Posthumously, Poirot's grey cells ignite. A partner in crime, perhaps, or a single killer tying up loose ends. Hastings suggests searching rooms, and Poirot agrees, starting with Victor's guest suite. Amid suits and papers, they find a hidden safe, cracked open with Poirot's lock-picking finesse. Inside, more blackmail material, photos of Evelyn with Crow, Vera's forged papers, and even Julian's IOUs from gambling debts. Victor was the spider at the center, Poirot says, collecting webs of secrets to control the fortune. But who killed the spider? A gloved hand might have planted the poison, but the letters suggest orchestration. Questioning Elsie again, the maid reveals Victor paid her to spy, passing notes during the ball. He gave me one for Miss Sophia, but I didn't deliver it to Scared after the crash. The undelivered note matches the new threat's style, but Elsie swears she burned it. Poirot smells a rat. Perhaps Elsie is more involved, her innocence a facade. Confronting the group in the dining hall, Poirot lays out the blackmail web. Victor extorted you all. Evelyn for her affair, Vera for her lies, Julian for debts, Crow for the cover-up, Sophia for her choices. Accusations. Flavera points at Crow. You supplied the poison for Reginald, why not Victor? Crow retorts, you stole the jewels to pay debts. Julian shouts at Evelyn, you'd do anything to keep this house. Sophia sobs, but Poirot silences them. The confession will come, but first, the truth. He reveals the pharmacy wrapper ties to Crow, who breaks. Yes, I provided cyanide for Reginald's suicide at Evelyn's request. She poisoned him to escape his cruelty. Evelyn gasps, denying it, but Crow produces a recorded conversation on a hidden phonograph, her voice pleading for the drug. The room erupts. Evelyn flees toward the terrace, the group in pursuit. The chase spills onto the cliffs, wind whipping. As Evelyn dashes along the narrow path, her gown billowing like a ghost, Poirot, surprisingly agile, leads with Hastings, shouting for her to stop. Madame, running, confirms guilt. She pauses at the edge, waves crashing below. I did it for freedom. Victor knew, blackmailed me. I poisoned his drink during the waltz distraction. But Poirot halts the arrest. Non, Madame, your confession is false sacrifice. He points out inconsistencies. Evelyn's alibi is ironclad, witness dancing non-stop. The real killer, Crow, who supplied poison twice, his toxicology knowledge. Perfect for the crime. Motive, Victor discovered Crow's affair and the cover-up, threatening exposure. Crow slips during the chase, admitting, Victor would ruin had to act, but twists remain. Vera lunges, revealing she aided Crow, providing the distraction with the tray crash in exchange for jewels. Julian, protecting Sophia, confesses planting the note to frame others. Sophia, innocent, faints. Poirot ties it. A conspiracy, but Crow struck the blow. As police arrive, finally, the culprits are detained. Poirot explains to Hastings. Confessions reveal layers, like an onion peel, carefully. In this chapter of Revelations and Pursuit, we've seen how pressure cracks even the strongest alibis. Offering a tip in tough spots, stay calm. Rash actions often betray you. With the case nearing resolution, next we'll see Poirot's grand reveal, where all threads waltz together. Chapter 6. The grand reveal. The storm has passed, leaving Widow's Peak bathed in a pale, late afternoon light that filters through the ballroom's tall windows, casting long shadows across the marble floor where Victor Harrington fell. The air still hums with the aftermath of the cliffside chase, but now the manor feels like a theatre awaiting the final act. Hercule Poirot gathers everyone, Lady Evelyn, Sophia, Julian, Countess Vera, Dr. Crow, and the trembling maid Elsie. The ballroom, where the police, newly arrived from the Devon constabulary, stand watchfully by the doors. Captain Hastings, his harlequin spirit subdued, organizes the group in a semicircle, ensuring no one slips away. Poirot stands before the grand fireplace, its embers glowing faintly, and begins his performance. His voice steady and commanding, his moustache practically vibrating with purpose. Madame et messieurs, he declares, the waltz of death has ended, and now Poirot shall reveal the steps that led to murder. He begins by reconstructing the night, pacing slowly as if retracing the dancer's movements. Victor Harrington died of cyanide, slipped into his champagne during the last waltz, a moment of distraction when a tray crashed. But this was no accident. Tit was a symphony of motives, orchestrated with precision. He holds up the vial. Wrapper found in the garden, its pharmacy label tied to Dr. Crow. The poison came from you, Doctor, yes. The same you supplied for Sir Reginald's so-called suicide. Crow, handcuffed and pale, nods weakly, his plague doctor mask long discarded. Poirot turns to Countess Vera, producing her pearl earring. And you, Madame Petrova, provided the distraction, dropping the tray to mask the killer's move. Motive: Victor's threat to expose your false title and stolen jewels. Vera's lips tighten, but she offers no denial. Her crimson dress a stark contrast to her ashen face. Poirot pivots to Lady Evelyn, who sits rigidly, her emerald gown now crumpled. Madame, you confessed to protect another, believing your affair with Dr. Crow made you vulnerable, but your alibi dancing through the waltzes confirmed by many. You did not kill Victor, though you poisoned Reginald. Evelyn's eyes well up, but she nods, whispering for freedom. He was a tyrant. Poirot's gaze softens briefly, then sharpens as he addresses Julian and Sophia. Monsieur Thorpe, your note to Elsie was no portrait commission. It was meant to lure her to the terrace, creating confusion. You sought to protect Sophia's inheritance, fearing Victor's control. Julian clenches his fists, but Sophia grips his arm, her face pleading innocence. Mademoiselle Sophia Poirot continues gently. You knew nothing of this plot, but your love inspired Julian's recklessness. Now, Poirot weaves the clues together like threads in a tapestry. The smuggler's passage allowed unseen movement. Vera used it to retrieve the vial, Crow to plant it, Julian to pass his note. Elsie, poor child, was Victor's pawn, paid to spy, but she kept secrets out of fear. Elsie sobs, admitting she hid the note after Victor's death, terrified of being implicated. Poirot holds up the threatening letter from Sophia's room, its ink matching Crow's pen. Doctor, you wrote this to pressure Sophia, to shift blame, knowing Victor's blackmail files could ruin you. Crow slumps, defeated. Yes, he mutters. Victor found my payments from Evelyn for Reginald's. Poison. He'd expose me, ruin my career. Poirot pauses for effect, his eyes scanning the room. But the final step in this waltz, the hand that poured the poison. Dr. Crow, you alone had the skill, the access, and the desperation. During the tray crash, you slipped cyanide into Victor's glass, your medical bag hiding the vial. Vera aided you for her own gain, but you struck the fatal blow. The police step forward, tightening Crow's cuffs, while Vera is restrained as an accomplice. The room exhales, tension breaking like a snapped string. Sophia weeps in relief, Julian comforting her, while Evelyn stares into the fire, her secrets laid bare. Poirot concludes with a flourish. The waltz is elegant, but its beauty hides danger each step planned, each turn precise. So too with murder. Observe the small things, Mies, Amos, a lipstick stain, a footprint, a note. They tell the story. Hastings claps Poirot's shoulder, muttering, brilliant, old chap. The police prepare to escort Crow and Vera away, but Poirot holds up a hand. One moment, there is another matter, the Harrington fortune. He reveals the codicil from the smuggler's chest. With Victor gone, Sophia inherits if Evelyn steps aside. Evelyn, weary, agrees to transfer control, freeing Sophia from the Manor's curse. This chapter's lesson is clear: in life, as in mysteries, clarity comes from connecting details others overlook. Like Poirot, take time to see the pattern, whether solving a problem or untangling a dispute. The truth lies in the small moments. Next, we'll see the aftermath as Widow's Peak faces its future and Poirot uncovers one final twist. Chapter 7: The Final Twist, with Dr. Crow and Countess Vera escorted away by the police. The ballroom of Widow's Peak feels strangely hollow, as if the music of the last waltz still lingers but now plays a mournful tune. The late evening sky, clear after the storm, paints the room in hues of gold and purple. But the guests, Lady Evelyn, Sophia, Julian, and a few lingering servants, stand in silence, processing the revelations. Hercule Poirot, however, is not one to rest on laurels. His sharp eyes dart to the corners of the room, sensing an unresolved note in this symphony of crime. "Hastings," he murmurs, pulling his friend aside, "the case is solved." But the heart of Widow's Peak beats still with secrets. There is one more step to this dance. Hastings, ever loyal, nods, ready for whatever Poirot's little grey cells have uncovered. Poirot requests everyone remain in the Manor overnight, citing the need for final statements to the police. But his true motive is to probe deeper. He begins by revisiting the smuggler's passage, this time alone, his lantern casting eerie shadows. In the hidden chamber behind the wine cellar, he examines the chest again, noticing a false bottom missed earlier. Beneath it lies a small derisa, Reginald's, its pages filled with cryptic entries about a debt unpaid and a name, E. Langford. Poirot's brow furrows. Langford is Sophia's surname, her late father's family. Could this connect to the inheritance or something darker? The diary mentions a meeting at the cove below the cliffs, dated the night Reginald died. Poirot pockets the diary, his mind racing. Was Reginald's death truly Evelyn's doing, or was another player involved? Back in the Manor, Poirot gathers Sophia and Julian in the drawing room, where a fire crackles, casting warmth but little comfort. "Mademoiselle Sophia," he begins gently, "your father, Edward Langford, was Reginald's partner. What do you know of his death?" Sophia, surprised, stammers, "He died in a boating accident, years ago, before I came to live here." "Why?" Poirot produces the diary, reading aloud. "Edward knew too much must be silenced." Sophia gasps, and Julian's face hardens. "Are you saying Reginald killed her father?" Poirot nods gravely. "It seems so. And Victor, aware of this, may have used it to blackmail Evelyn, who protected the family name. This explains Evelyn's willingness to confess falsely. She feared this truth surfacing, tainting Sophia's future." Poirot then seeks Elsie, finding her in the kitchen, scrubbing pots with frantic energy. "Mademoiselle, you were Victor's spy, but did you overhear talk of Edward Langford?" Elsie freezes, then nods. "Victor mentioned a cove deal, something about artifacts Reginald stole, hidden there. He said it was worth a fortune." Poirot's eyes light up. The cove, mentioned in the diary and map, could hold physical evidence tying the crimes together. He enlists Hastings for a nighttime expedition, despite the latter's protests about the cliff's danger. Poirot, "It's madness in the dark." Hastings grumbles, but he grabs a torch and follows. Loyal as ever, under moonlight, they descend a narrow path to the cove, waves crashing against jagged rocks. The smuggler's map guides them to a hidden cave, its entrance concealed by boulders. Inside, Poirot finds crates, stolen artifacts, gold statues, and jewels from Reginald's colonial ventures, worth millions. But there's more. A blood-stained knife, wrapped in cloth, with Edward Langford's initials carved into the handle. Mon dear Poirot breathes. Reginald stabbed Edward here, staging the boating accident. Victor likely found this, using it to extort Evelyn. The pieces fall into place. Victor's murder wasn't just about the estate, but silencing his knowledge of this older crime. Returning to the manor, Poirot confronts Evelyn privately in her study. "Madame, you knew of Reginald's murder of Edward, You poisoned him to protect Sophia, but Victor's blackmail forced your hand again." Evelyn breaks down, confessing fully. "I couldn't let Sophia lose everything, her father's honor, her future. Victor found the knife, threatened to tell all unless I sold the estate." Poirot, sympathetic but firm, notes the police must know, though her cooperation may lighten her sentence. Evelyn agrees, exhausted by secrets. The final twist emerges as Poirot shares the findings with Sophia and Julian. Sophia, devastated, vows to return the artifacts to their rightful owners, cleansing the family's legacy. Julian, inspired, sketches a vision of Widow's Peak as a museum, preserving its beauty without its curse. Poirot approves his work. "Nearly done. The truth, it liberates, even when it pains," he says to Hastings, who marvels at the complexity. "You've outdone yourself, Poirot. This chapter's lesson resonates. Secrets like buried treasure corrode those who keep them. In your own life, face hard truths head on. It's the only way to move forward." With the case closed, we'll soon wrap up at Widow's Peak, as Poirot and Hastings bid farewell, leaving the manor to its new future. Stay tuned for that, and don't forget to like and subscribe to catch the conclusion. Chapter 8. The Cleansing of Widow's Peak. The morning sun rises over Widow's Peak, painting the cliffs with a soft golden glow that seems to promise renewal after the storm of secrets and death. The manor, though still grand, feels lighter, as if the weight of its dark history has begun to lift. Hercule Poirot stands on the terrace, his neatly pressed suit and polished shoes at odds with the rugged coastal breeze, his moustache perfectly symmetrical despite the early hour. Captain Hastings joins him, nursing a cup of tea, his face a mix of relief and exhaustion after the whirlwind of revelations. The police have taken Dr. Crow and Countess Vera into custody, and Lady Evelyn, cooperative but sombre, awaits her. Fate for her role in Reginald's death. Sophia and Julian, meanwhile, are in the drawing room, planning a future for the estate that honors truth over greed. But Poirot's little grey cells are still humming. He senses the manor's story isn't fully told, and this chapter will see him tie up loose ends with his signature precision. Poirot begins the day by meeting Sophia and Julian in the library, where sunlight streams through stained glass windows, casting colourful patterns on the oak shelves. Sophia, her eyes brighter despite the grief, holds the diary Poirot found in the smuggler's chamber. "Monsieur Poirot," she says, her voice steady, "I want to make this right. The artifacts in the cove belong to people my uncle wronged. I'll return them, even if it bankrupts the estate." Julian, sketching a blueprint for a museum, nods enthusiastically. "We'll turn Widow's Peak into a place of learning, not secrets. My art can tell the story of those artifacts." Poirot smiles, impressed by their resolve. "Mademoiselle, monsieur, your hearts are pure. But first, we must ensure no further shadows lurk." He's thinking of Elsie, the maid, whose role as Victor's spy still nags at him. Her fear seemed genuine. but her access to the passage and notes suggests more involvement. Poirot seeks Elsie in the servants' quarters, where she's packing her meagre belongings, preparing to leave Widow's Peak. Her hands tremble as she folds a shawl, and Poirot's gentle tone disarms her. "Mademoiselle Elsie, you held back something Victor's orders, perhaps more notes. Tell Poirot everything." Elsie breaks, tears streaming. "He made me do it, sir. Victor paid me to listen at doors, pass messages. After he died, I got scared. Someone slipped another note under my door, saying to keep quiet or I'd be next." She hands Poirot a crumpled scrap, its handwriting matching the threatening letter to Sophia. Poirot's eyes narrow. Someone else in the manor is pulling strings, perhaps to protect the artifact's secret or to hide another crime tied to the Harrington legacy. To trace this new threat, Poirot enlists Hastings to search the guest rooms for more clues, focusing on overlooked spaces. In Julian's room, tucked inside a sketchbook, Hastings finds a rough drawing of the cove, with an X marking a spot not yet explored. "Poirot, look at this," he exclaims, rushing back. Julian's been sketching the cove maybe. He knows more than he's letting on. Poirot examines the sketch, noting coordinates that align with the smuggler's map. Mon ami, Julian, is an artist, but perhaps also an opportunist. Let us visit the cove once more. Under the guise of cataloguing artifacts for Sophia, they return to the cave, finding a hidden alcove behind a boulder. Inside, a small satchel holds gold coins and a ledger listing buyers' names of shady dealers Victor contacted before his death. Victor planned to sell the artifacts himself, Poirot deduces. Julian knew, perhaps hoping to claim a share through Sophia. Confronting Julian privately in the conservatory, Poirot presents the ledger. "Monsieur, you sketched the cove's secrets. Did you plan to profit from Victor's scheme?" Julian flushes, his defiance crumbling. "I found Victor's notes in the library weeks ago. I thought if I could find the artifacts, I'd sell a few to secure Sophia's future she deserves. Better than this cursed place." Poirot nods, understanding but firm. Greed, even for love, is a dangerous partner. "You will help Sophia return these treasures, we." Julian agrees, shamefaced, promising to support her museum vision fully. Poirot, satisfied, ensures the ledger is turned over to the police for international authorities to trace the buyers. Next, Poirot addresses the mysterious note to Elsie. Analyzing the handwriting, he compares it to samples from the manors. Staff and guests, ruling out Crow and Vera, already in custody. The ink and slant match a letter found in the butler's desker. Man named Thomas, quiet and overlooked, who served drinks alongside Elsie. Questioning Thomas in the pantry, Poirot is direct. "You wrote to silence Elsie, fearing she'd reveal your role. Did Victor pay you, too?" Thomas, a wiry man with nervous eyes, confesses, "Victor used me to watch the passage entrances. After he died, I panicked, thought Elsie would point to me. He denies poisoning Victor, claiming only to have guarded the cove's secret for extra pay." Poirot believes him. Thomas lacks the cunning for murder, but confirms the web of greed Victor wove. With these threads tied, Poirot gathers the household to announce the estate's cleansing. Widow's Peak is free of its poison, not just cyanide, but lies and greed. "Sophia, you will restore its honor." Sophia vows to work with authorities to repatriate the artifacts, while Evelyn, facing her own trial, offers to fund the effort with her remaining wealth. The manor feels reborn, its ghosts quieted by truth. "For you," The lesson is simple. Clearing out old baggage, whether in a home or your own life, creates space for new beginnings. Just like Sophia, take bold steps to right past wrongs. Next, we'll see Poirot prepare to leave, but not before a final surprise shakes the Manor's foundations. Chapter 9. The unexpected heir. As dusk settles over Widow's Peak, the Manor's Gothic spires stand silhouetted against a sky streaked with crimson and violet, a fitting backdrop for the closing act of this intricate mystery. Hercule Poirot, his work nearly complete, sips a tisane in the drawing room, surrounded by the scent of polished wood and fading roses. Captain Hastings, ever the faithful companion, lounges nearby, flipping through a newspaper but clearly itching for Poirot's final thoughts. Sophia and Julian are in the library, drafting plans for the museum, their voices full of hope. Lady Evelyn, under house arrest until her hearing, sits quietly in her room, penning letters to distant relatives. The police have left, taking their prisoners, and the servants bustle to restore order. Yet Poirot's keen senses detect one last ripple in the comma clue overlooked. A truth yet to surface, like a final note in the waltz that lingers unresolved. Poirot begins his final investigation by revisiting the diary from the smuggler's chest, its cryptic references to E. Langford and an unpaid debt gnawing at him. He summons Sophia to the drawing room, holding the diary gently. "Mademoiselle, your father's death was no accident, but there is more. This debt, it suggests another heir, perhaps a secret kept even from you." Sophia, puzzled, shakes her head. "My father had no other family. I was his only child." But Poirot, ever methodical, requests Hastings to search the Manor's attic for family records. Suspecting Reginald hid more than artifacts, Hastings returns with a dusty box of papers, including a sealed envelope marked Langford Trust. Inside, a legal document reveals a bombshell. Edward Langford had a son, born out of wedlock before his marriage to Sophia's mother, entrusted to a distant cousin in London. The boy, now a man, was to inherit a portion of the Harrington fortune. If no other heirs remained, Poirot's eyes gleam. Mon Dieu, a hidden heir. Victor must have known, using this to leverage control over Evelyn. To confirm, Poirot questions Evelyn, who's startled but admits, "Reginald told me of a boy, sent away to protect the family name. I thought he was long gone." The document names the cousin, a Mrs. Clara Merton, living in Bloomsbury. Poirot, with his knack for connections, recalls a letter in Victor's safe mentioning a Merton claim. He telephones the London police, who locate Clara, now elderly, and her adopted son. Daniel Merton, a clerk, unaware of his heritage, but matching the age and description in Edward's papers. Poirot arranges for Daniel to visit Widow's Peak, sensing this reunion will close the case's final loop. When Daniel arrives the next morning, he's a shy man in his 30s, with Sophia's dark eyes but a clerk's modest demeanor. Poirot orchestrates a meeting in the library, where Sophia, nervous but kind, greets him. "You're my half-brother," she asks, clutching Julian's hand. Daniel, overwhelmed, nods, showing a locket from his mother with Edward's initials. The diary's debt becomes clear. Edward wanted his son provided for, but Reginald hid the trust to keep the fortune intact. Victor, discovering this, planned to manipulate Daniel's claim to pressure Evelyn, but his murder cut the scheme short. Poirot explains, Victor's greed wove a web that trapped him. Daniel's existence was his final leverage, but now it brings healing. Sophia, moved, embraces Daniel, offering him a share in the estate's future, not as a rival, but a partner. In the museum project, we'll honor father together, she says. Julian, sketching Daniel's portrait, agrees to include his story in the exhibits, a testament to redemption. Evelyn, witnessing this, finds solace, her guilt easing as the family reunites. Poirot, observing, feels the symmetry he craves, the Manor's curse broken by truth and unity. He advises Daniel, Monsieur, embrace your heritage, but let it be a bridge, not a burden. Daniel, grateful, vows to learn from Sophia and contribute to Widow's Peak's new chapter. As Poirot prepares to depart, he reflects with Hastings on the terrace. The waltz of Widow's Peak was complex, mon ami, but the steps led to justice. A family restored, a legacy cleansed. Hastings grins. You've done it again, Poirot. Shall we head back to London? Poirot nods, but not before gifting Sophia a small notebook of his observations, a guide for navigating future challenges. For you viewers, the takeaway is powerful. Family secrets, like hidden heirs, can reshape destinies when faced bravely. Dig into your own past with courage, might reveal treasures of connection. Next, we'll bid farewell to Widow's Peak as Poirot and Hastings leave with one last surprise. Chapter 10. Farewell to the cliffs. As the first rays of dawn break over the Devon cliffs, Widow's Peak Manor stands resilient, its stone facade softened by the morning mist rising from the sea below. Hercule Poirot packs his valise in his guest room, arranging his belongings with the same meticulous care he applies to his investigations. Each item in its place. Symmetry restored. Captain Hastings waits by the grand staircase, his suitcase already at the door, chatting amiably with Sophia and Julian about their museum plans. The air is crisp with promise, the curse of the Harrington family finally broken by revelations of hidden heirs, stolen artifacts, and long-buried murders. But before departing, Poirot has one last gathering, calling everyone to the ballroom where the tragedy began, now bathed in gentle light that erases the shadows of the masquerade night. Poirot stands at the center, his small stature commanding as always, his voice carrying a note of finality. Mesdames et messieurs, the waltz has concluded, and Poirot bids you adieu. But let us reflect. This manor, perched on its Widow's Peak, has seen poison, blackmail, and betrayal. Dr. Crow's desperate act, aided by Vera's greed, ended Victor's life, but the roots stretched to Reginald's sins, murdering Edward Langford, hoarding illicit treasures, and concealing a son. He turns to Daniel Merton, the unexpected heir, who stands shyly beside Sophia. Monsieur Daniel, your arrival mends the fractures. Share in the legacy wisely. Daniel nods gratefully, already discussing with Sophia how to exhibit the returned artifacts ethically, turning Widow's Peak into a beacon of historical justice rather than a vault of secrets. Sophia, her confidence blooming, thanks Poirot profoundly. Without you, we'd still be dancing in the dark. The museum will honor truth exhibits on the smuggler's past, Reginald's colonial wrongs, and even a section on your methods, monsieur. Julian adds, presenting a framed sketch of Poirot amid the clues, the vial, the earring, the diary, a token of our gratitude. Poirot accepts with a bow, his mustache twitching in pleasure. Art captures the essence, monsieur. Remember, the little grey cells see what the eyes miss. Evelyn, awaiting transport to face her charges, approaches last, her face etched with regret but also relief. You've freed us all, Poirot. My trial will be fair, knowing the full story. Poirot responds kindly. Justice tempers mercy. Madame, your love for the family, though misguided, shines through. As the chauffeured car arrives to whisk Poirot and Hastings back to the train station, the group waves from the steps. Hastings, settling into the seat, sighs contentedly. Another case cracked. Widow's Peak will never be the same. Poirot gazes out at the receding Manor, the cliffs dropping dramatically to the waves. Oui, mon ami. But life is a waltz, endless turns, new partners. We must keep step. He reflects silently on the human frailties exposed, greed twisting Vera and Crow, protectiveness driving Evelyn and Julian, innocence preserving Sophia and Daniel. The estate, now in capable hands, will thrive without its poisons. Back in London? By evening, Poirot returns to his Whitehaven Mansion's apartment. Arranging his mustache in the mirror once more, the adventure filed away in his mind like a solved puzzle. Yet a faint melody hums in his thoughts the last waltz, a reminder that mysteries await. For our story's end, take this wisdom, embrace your past's twists, for they shape a stronger future, much like how Poirot turns chaos into order. If you've enjoyed this tale of intrigue and revelation, hit that like button, subscribe for more mysteries, and comment below. What's your favorite Poirot moment? Until next time, keep those grey cells active.